This is VIPER, a member of the mercenary group of elite pilots handpicked by Blisk himself called the Apex Predators. Nope, not these guys. These. Anyways, I don't want to take all day, so in summary, VIPER messed with the wrong Titan and he got himself blown up. No big deal, right? He's a bad guy. Well, it turns out he had a daughter, and in my book, that makes you a not so bad guy because raising daughters is hard. Hashtag parenting struggles. Anyways, his daughter Kyrie, all grown up now, finds his helmet one day and she gets very sad and seeks to find revenge on Blisk. Even though it was you as a player who gunned down her daddy, likely with a Spitfire full mag. Well, that's a bit awkward. Anyways, moving on.
Focus, Kai.
Some time ago, when I was still working on Revenant or Loba, the lead designer for Valkyrie at the time, he comes over to my desk. He's a tall dude, and he squats down right next to me, and he doesn't say anything. He's just looking at the floor. He's in thought, and so I look at him and I take my headphones off, right, because obviously it's something serious. He doesn't say anything for a few seconds, and I was about to check to see if he was having a stroke or something, when he looks up at me and he's like, "Hey Moy, how would you like to work on a legend that can fly?"
I'm in the pipe, 5x5.
Actually, I kept it professional, right? Because I am a professional animator after all. So I can't be acting like a monkey at a banana factory, jumping up and down. So I'm like, "Oh yeah, for sure. That sounds cool, dude. What do you have in mind? I want to hear more about it." But inside, I'm like, alright, let me calm down. Alright, look. I can give you 3 reasons why I'm excited about her. And these are not spoilers, obviously I can't talk about that, but I can give you my personal perspective. It usually breaks down into 3 things that I see with every legend that we work on. So the first thing for me is this a fun character to work on? The reason why this is important is because the more fun the animation team has creating these characters, ultimately the better they're going to perform, and the more they're going to translate towards the players. And we had a blast animating for Valkyrie. The second thing is this a fun character to play as, and the credit here goes to the designers. They really knocked it out of the park with her. I've had such a blast playing as her. I like mobility characters. Valkyrie is just super fun to play as. I was able to work a lot on her ultimate, and I can't go into any more details right now, but I really hope that it fulfills the fantasy that we were trying to sell for her. And lastly, is she fun to learn about? And here it has to do a lot with her lore, with her story, with her personality. And I think Valkyrie has so much that the writers have just done for her that it captured my attention immediately, and so that's why I find myself right in the middle of all of these 3 things that are important for me. And I want to make sure I give a big shout out to the writers. These guys come up with the craziest stuff. When we start working on a character, it can come from a variety of places, right? Sometimes the design is more figured out, sometimes the background is more figured out. In this case, we started working on her and we went on her gameplay, and then later on the writers started catching us up with the fact that she was VIPER's daughter. When this happened, the hype went through the roof, right? Because anytime that anything has to do with Titanfall, at least for me, I personally get really attached to it. I have a huge amount of love and respect for those games. So anything that I can work on with that universe, I love it. And I want to make sure that the players that experience this, that justice is done for this franchise that we love so much. So since Valkyrie pretty much hit those 3 things for me, I was super hyped to work on her. And I think it's something that is going to translate to you guys well, or at least that's the hope. You've seen it a little bit on our trailers. You let me know. We've tried really hard to make them feel as authentic and as true to the universe as we can. And lastly, I wanted to touch on a few things that I think have been key from our trailers, and maybe you get something new out of it. So when it comes to our trailers and like the stories from the Outlands, for instance, these are things that we don't do internally because internally we're busy making Apex and it requires all the developers in order to support a game with such high demand. So we do rely on outside creative teams in order to produce these other additional pieces of content that our players love, and we love to see them and we love to help these creative teams work on them. The first one I'd like to talk about is Valk, when she was a kid going into the Titan. This was such a cool moment even from the storyboards. We just had to sell this fantasy of a little kid going into this machine that a lot of us fans of Titanfall have learned to love and what it would be like. So when she's laughing, when she's smiling, when she's feeling the air in her hair, all of that had to come through, and it was a pretty emotional moment. When she boots it up and we hear that iconic "Welcome back, pilot," and the screen's powering up, we had to make that look just like in Titanfall 2. It was probably one of the coolest moments, and when we saw it, when we saw all the bells and whistles, all the animation, the effects, when all the elements came together and we saw this NorthStar Titan flying through the air, man, it was emotional, to be completely honest.
VIPER on station.
The next part that I like to talk about is VIPER, obviously. It was so cool to see him in his outfit with that iconic helmet, delivering those lines that we remember from Titanfall 2, but here we see him in a different light. And something that I thought was cool, possibly a little detail that you haven't picked up on, is that when VIPER jumps out of his ship to save Valkyrie, he's not wearing a parachute. He's basically on a one-way ticket down, and it's just so powerful that it doesn't matter if he's gonna make it out of this alive or not. His goal is to save his daughter. Lastly, I just want to talk about probably my favorite scene in the entire short, which is when VIPER and Valk are inside the cockpit. I know what it's like to be upset at my daughter, Summer, and I also know that I can't stay mad at her for too long, regardless of what she's done. And here, VIPER has that moment. And I was actually able to provide a little reference for the creative team, and I don't know if they ended up using any of my reference to help, but I'd like to think that they did.
My call sign is Valkyrie, and you'll live to remember it.
And that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed that little breakdown, and I hope that your takeaway from this is that I'm not the only one that's excited about Valkyrie. There's a lot of people in the development team that are super excited for her. We can't wait for you to play her. I think you're gonna enjoy her so much, and learn as much as you can from her lore so that you can pick up on the little clues that we've left, sprinkle all throughout her character, through her animations, through her audio work, through her effects. There's a lot of love that went to this character, and my sincerest hope is that this comes through to you. Also, I wanted to say thank you for 400,000 subscribers. That is a crazy number. I don't even know how to express my gratitude. Hopefully you stick around. Hopefully you enjoy these little commentaries, and they provide you with entertainment and with a little bit of information. And I guess that's it. Until next time, take care, guys.
You're not the only one with fancy moves, beautiful.
I love whoever came up with this new game.